130 families and businesses were wiped off the map of Brooklyn to make way for this arena. The government used its power of eminent domain, not for a road or a school, but for a billionaire. Dozens of lawsuits, angry protests, a world-class architectural design scrapped, and promises of thousands of affordable apartments that were never built. What began as a plan to revive a neglected neighborhood turned into a wave of rising prices, displaced residents, and the slow disappearance of local culture. And yet, the arena is undeniably impressive. A 70,000-pound scoreboard hanging from the ceiling, a glowing portal at the entrance, and luxury suites that make Madison Square Garden look second-tier. So how did one building manage to divide an entire city? And who really profited from all this? This is the true story behind the most controversial arena in the NBA. In the early 2000s, Brooklyn was changing fast. Once seen as a working-class borough, it was quickly becoming a hub for creatives, entrepreneurs, and real estate developers. But despite its cultural rise, Brooklyn lacked a major sports franchise, a symbolic void dating back to 1957, when the Brooklyn Dodgers left for Los Angeles. That gap caught the attention of developer Bruce Ratner, who saw an opportunity to bring both basketball and luxury real estate to the borough's center. In 2003, Ratner unveiled his bold vision, a $4.9 billion megadevelopment called Atlantic Yards, spanning 22 acres and promising 16 skyscrapers, thousands of new apartments, retail spaces, glittering new home for the New Jersey Nets, whom he purchased in 2004 for that very purpose. But the plan didn't land smoothly. To build the project, Ratner would need to demolish homes and businesses sitting on top of the proposed site, a patch of land between Prospect Heights and Fort Greene. It was a living and breathing neighborhood, with residents who had lived there for decades. To make way for the development, Ratner turned to eminent domain, the power for the state to seize private property for public use. Except this time, public use meant handing homes to a billionaire developer. More than 130 residents and small business owners were told to leave. What followed was one of the most organized community resistance movements in recent New York history. A grassroots coalition called Develop, Don't Destroy Brooklyn became the face of the backlash.
Development does not need to destroy to be a success. Our cause is just, and it is right.
They accused Ratner and state officials of using public money for private profit, while erasing communities under the banner of revitalization. The fight escalated into a full-blown political and legal war, including over 30 lawsuits and endless town halls. The courtroom battles dragged on for years, delaying the project again and again. Ratner announced the plan in 2003. The first shovel didn't hit the ground until 2010, after nearly 7 years of public hearings, court rulings, state approvals, and design changes. The final major challenge, a lawsuit contesting the use of eminent domain, made it all the way to New York's highest court, but was ultimately dismissed. And then came the design drama. The original plans were designed by Frank Gehry, the architect behind masterpieces like the Guggenheim Bilbao and Walt Disney Concert Hall. His design was futuristic, ambitious, and expensive. As legal delays piled up and the 2008 financial crisis hit, Gehry's vision was deemed too costly. In 2009, it was scrapped in favor of a sleeker, budget-conscious version by shop architects. The skyscrapers were scaled back. Many promised public amenities were delayed or shelved, but the arena was non-negotiable. Despite the chaos, the Barclays Center would rise. But at what cost to Brooklyn's soul? Construction on Barclays Center finally broke ground in March 2010. While the original vision included futuristic curves and an undulating glass facade, the new version delivered a bold, industrial structure grounded in Brooklyn's grit. Barclays Center's facade is made of 12,000 uniquely shaped panels of pre-weathered steel, giving the building its signature rusty red color. No two panels are the same. The look is raw, moody, and instantly recognizable. While some critics compared it to a giant colander or spaceship crash site, others praised its unapologetically urban aesthetic. At over 675,000 square feet, The arena sprawls across a major intersection at Atlantic and Flatbush Avenues, in plain sight of one of the busiest transit hubs in New York City. Hovering above the main entrance is the Oculus, an 85-foot-long cantilevered canopy with a 3,000 square foot LED display built into its underside. More than just a marquee, the Oculus acts as an immersive portal, glowing, flashing, and pulling fans into the experience before they even step inside. Structurally, Barclays Center relies on two massive 350-foot-long tied arch trusses that span the roof without the need for internal support columns. That means every seat, all 17,732 of them for basketball games, has a clean, unobstructed view of the court. For concerts, capacity can stretch to nearly 19,000. The arena also houses 101 luxury suites, plus several high-end clubs and lounges that were part of a large renovation launched years after opening. These upgrades include the Crown Club, introduced in 2021, and Toki Row, unveiled in 2024, exclusive spaces designed to match the experience of top-tier venues like Madison Square Garden just across the river. On the tech side, the arena was designed to dazzle. The center-hung scoreboard comprises 4 high-definition main video displays, each measuring 16 feet high by 27 feet wide, about the size of a 2-story house. Above these are 4 smaller scoring displays, each measuring more than 7 feet high by 27 feet wide. The entire center-hung structure weighs approximately 70,000 pounds and contains a total of 3,550 square feet of LED displays, enough to fully cover a professional tennis court. The lighting system uses spotlighting techniques to mimic a theatrical atmosphere. The court is brightly lit, while the surrounding stands stay dim, drawing viewers' eyes to the action like a Broadway stage. Sound was also a priority. Designers worked with acoustics consultants to reduce reverb and improve clarity, especially important given that Barclays doubles as a major concert venue. Then there's the roof, a surprising star of the design. In 2015, a 135,000 square foot green roof was added, one of the largest in New York City. It spans an area larger than 2 football fields.
In the effort of adding this green roof, we did think that once we're putting the roof on, we should do it smartly and try to optimize it for acoustic purposes too. So it will definitely have a benefit both from inside and outside.
Covered in sedum plants, it wasn't just an aesthetic upgrade. It absorbs rainwater, reduces heat reflection, and even helps dampen concert noise, a welcome change for neighbors who had long complained about sound bleeding into nearby buildings. Sustainability played a role throughout the build. The arena earned LEED Silver certification, incorporating energy-efficient lighting, low-emission materials, and digital modeling to reduce construction waste. But construction wasn't without its struggles. Delays in clearing the site pushed back timelines. Supply chain complications around the unique facade panels caused tension with contractors, and initial design compromises led to criticism that the arena wasn't delivering on many of the promises made during the planning phase. But once the lights came on and the crowds poured in, the bigger questions began to surface. Who really benefited from all of this? And what did Brooklyn have to trade in return? That answer lies in what happened after the final steel beam was set. Barclays Center officially opened its doors in 2012 with a final price tag hovering around $1 billion, approximately $1.38 billion in today's money. But the true cost, financial and social, is still debated today. The project was funded through a combination of private and public money, and that mix remains one of the most controversial parts of the arena's story. Roughly $511 million in tax-exempt bonds were issued by the Brooklyn Arena Local Development Corporation, a public entity, to help finance construction. These bonds allowed developers to borrow money at lower interest rates, a benefit typically reserved for public infrastructure. The arrangement sparked outrage, as many critics viewed it as a sweetheart deal for billionaire developers backed by taxpayers. And the subsidies didn't end there. Between land acquisition, tax breaks, and public infrastructure improvements, the full public cost may have ballooned to over $760 million. That makes Barclays Center one of the most publicly subsidized sports venues in the United States, despite being a privately owned building. In addition to the bonds, Barclays Bank signed a $200 million naming rights deal over 20 years, helping further offset costs. But even today, the arena's balance sheet is a mixed story. In 2023, the arena pulled in $113.8 million in ticket revenue and posted a modest operating profit of $16.1 million. But after accounting for $21.1 million in interest payments on construction debt, the venue actually posted a net loss of $5 million. Joe Tsai, the co-founder of Alibaba Group and the owner of the Brooklyn Nets and the arena since 2019, personally covered the shortfall just to keep things running. Public reaction to Barclays Center remains deeply mixed. Supporters argue it revitalized a key Brooklyn corridor, brought the NBA back to the borough after 55 years, and created a high-profile entertainment venue. But for others, the arena represents a broken promise. Barclays Center was supposed to be the anchor of the $4.9 billion Atlantic Yards plan, including over 6,000 new apartments, with 2,250 of them designated as affordable housing. The arena opened in 2012, but at that point, not a single housing unit had been built. Years later, only a fraction of those apartments have been completed, and many so-called affordable units are priced well beyond the reach of the working-class families they were intended for. Worse, the very construction of the arena helped accelerate the gentrification it promised to avoid. Over 130 residents and small businesses were displaced during site clearance. Property values in the surrounding area surged. Rents climbed. Longtime residents moved out. Local culture gave way to luxury towers and branded coffee shops. Even the project's name was changed, from Atlantic Yards to Pacific Park. To some, it felt like an attempt to bury the past. And yet, Barclays Center stands. It's loud, it's lucrative, it's architecturally iconic, and undeniably Brooklyn. But it also remains a symbol of the borough's most painful transformation. As luxury towers climb higher and promises fade further, the real question is whether Barclays Center will stand as a triumph of progress or a warning about what Brooklyn lost to get there. That's a question only time and the people of Brooklyn can answer. Ready to be amazed by the next groundbreaking construction project? Click on the video now and dive into a world where engineering and imagination collide. See you there!